As the smoke clears, the day after looks about the same as it did the night before. And there's one extra thing. There's a clock ticking on Travis Kelce. What happens today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for making us your first listen in the post-almost three-peat era, I'm going to call it. Hopefully, things are looking a little bit rosier for you today than they were last night. Welcome in. Make sure you make another Locked On show your next one, whether you're switching the NBA or like I am, going over to the fantasy hockey guys. Check out them because they're helping me a ton. There are other things going on than just losing a football game. It was ugly. We know that. But what comes next? Can't fix that one. So, hey, this is a new clock on a new year right now. What does that look like? I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. We're going to have a ton for you in the draft cycle on athleticism, on player grades, the whole college scouting thing. Me and my team get the job done, so make sure you check that out. You can also find me over on RGR Football as well as NFL 33 for all my front office ramblings. And I am going to do a piece on the Chiefs. I don't usually do that, but I'm going to today. This is my partner, Chris Clark. You can find him at KC Chiefs Corner, all of his work and research that you need right this minute. We're going to hit pretty heavy on Chris's like bread and butter, the cap, how it works, what you can make room for, how the money flows in the NFL. If you want that and all the extra stuff, get it on our text line at 816-357-8781. Thank you. It's been a great year. I know it's a little disappointing, but we are not stopping. We're going to be here for you 5 days a week all year long, just like we always are. And we roll right now, just like Travis Kelce does, in that he's got a little bit that he's got on his mind. Later in the show, we're going to get to what the front office has to do right now to prepare for the next couple of decisions, some that are creeping up on us faster than you think. A little bit before that, we're going to talk about the coaching staff, what the lessons learned have to be. If they don't take this away, what does this season give you in the bigger span of things? But we start with Kelce. A lot of rumor, a lot of conjecture all over mainstream media today, obviously on the social media universes. The anticipation of will he or won't he retire at this point? I don't know. I don't know that he knows. He's probably still making a decision. At least that's what it feels like to me. But we can't look at the ramifications. And you've run down the numbers about what it means monetarily, financially, cap-wise for the Chiefs right now. Should I be scared?
Yeah, probably. Reality is that new league year is the most important thing to know about, right? When we're going to be talking about all this, it is starting on March 12th. Chiefs have to be cap compliant on March 12th. That's not going to be a problem for them. They're already 11 million under. The problem they do have is they only have 38 people under contract for next season. So that's a problem. We will talk a little bit more when we start talking about the front office in the last segment, when we talk about all the numbers on that one. When it comes to Travis Kelce, it's a question of does he want to play or not? If he wants to play, then that's fine. The Chiefs, I'm sure, will have him, and they will have him happily. But he has a $11.5 million roster bonus that is due. I've seen multiple different reports. It's either between the first day of the league year or the fifth day of the league year. One of those two. And obviously the team's going to know. But $11.5 million, he is guaranteed if he is here when the new league year starts. They're going to have to know that. Like I said, I think they're at 11.5. They're actually at 11.5 million right now in cap space, and that includes that 11.5 million bonus plus the rest of Travis Kelce's salary and everything else. His cap number is just under 20 million himself. So you're looking at something in those regards. If he doesn't come back, that would take them to close to $30 million in cap space because nothing is left. Nothing is guaranteed that it's left. He will have to make a decision, and he will have to let the team know what his decision is in the next month. He does have a month. I would expect the team's going to give him all the time that he needs. But I have a feeling he already has a pretty good idea of which direction he's headed. I don't know that he has a full decision yet, but I think the team probably has an idea.
Yeah, maybe. I tend to think that he's an emotional dude. I don't know that any decision's set. I got to tell you, I'm weighing what just happened versus what should happen, and it's going to take me a little bit. So give me the options. Option A, he decides to retire. The Chiefs recoup that 19.8, right? And like you said, they get just over 30 million in cap space, right?
Just under 30 million in cap
under.
space. Yeah, because they're 11.5 now. He's at just under 20, so it's not quite. It wouldn't get them quite to 30.
Gotcha. But the alternative to that is that you're losing what I think is the greatest tight end in the history of the game.
Yep. Which is a huge loss beyond the fact that he's just the greatest tight end in the game, because the greatest tight end that's ever played in the NFL, because you also are looking at it from the aspect of the offense runs through him. So many things run through him, and you either are going to have to upgrade what you have, or you're going to have to change your offense. So this is going to be a huge decision that's going to have huge ramifications for the Chiefs. Now, the reality is we've been talking about this for the past 3 or 4 seasons, that they needed to find somebody to replace him. I'm not going to say that Jared Wiley can't come in and do some of that, but he's not going to be a one-for-one replacement for Travis Kelce. Nobody really will be, but they're going to have to start looking even harder now that there is speculation. And he's at a point in his career where it makes sense that he would consider retirement.
I get it.
I don't like it.
I don't either. We'll do a retrospective if that happens, because that's how significant it is. So there's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that he returns. And with this roster bonus that's coming, along with his base, which I think is like 4.5, right? They can convert some of that and still recoup. I'm guessing something. No, that base cannot be converted. It's done.
That's the last year on his deal.
Okay, so it's all over.
So if he signs an extension,
right,
they can't restructure anything because there's nothing to restructure. There's no.
Well, if you extended
years,
it basically restructures this year. Is my point. The extension would allow you to get relief now.
Yes, but the question is that actually, if he did restructure, or if he did another extension, that would actually tell you his plans over the longer term. I don't know how long we could really talk on longer term at that. He has the ability to play as long as he wants to. I think that he still has extreme value to the team and extreme value to, the league in general, but extreme value to the Chiefs. And I think Patrick Mahomes would love to have him here for another couple of seasons. But the question is, does Travis want to do that? Because he has things outside of football, and he has a lot of life waiting for things outside of football. And I'm not even talking about Taylor Swift.
You had to say her name, didn't you? Now the SEO is going to find us.
That's fine. They can find us. My whole point is like, everybody talks about Taylor. Like I got asked about was he going to propose if they won the Super Bowl? I got asked that question. To me, I don't know. I don't know if he would have. Who knows? But the reality is, at this point, it doesn't matter. Even if he didn't have Taylor Swift, he's got his podcast. He wants to get into acting. He's already done some acting. He wants to get into doing more of the comedy stuff. Like, he has a whole bunch of things that he wants to do after football. So it's not just a matter of, does he want to continue playing? It sounds like he still loves the game. He thinks that he can still continue to play for a couple of years. The reality is that he's got to decide whether or not he still loves it enough to continue to play. If he doesn't, then that's the decision right there.
Well, and I'd argue, and I'm sure I'll say this again here in the coming month and probably beyond that too, he's going to decide whether he's still dedicated to it, because I would argue that some of those outside things contribute to this season being a whole lot less than he wanted to go out on.
I don't know that I would agree with that. I get your point and I get where you're going, but you know what you could do?
We could have him on.
Well, yeah, but just say he's not going to sign an extension. And then
right. I mean, honestly, there's really no way that Travis Kelce could sign an extension right now. There, it's done.
Okay, thank you.
Folks, if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about or why I'm crazy right now, it's because I've done this too many times and been absolutely wrong about every decision that Travis Kelce and the Chiefs make with their contract extensions.
Specifically about Travis Kelce. So
yeah,
we'll be breaking down the new contract in a couple days. You can thank Ryan.
Yes, there we go. Okay. Well, there are other things that we have to take away from this, and the staff does as well. Where do they? What does the exit interview look like and sound like today? That's coming up next. Football season may be over, but basketball is in full swing, and there's no better way to stay in the game with Prize Picks, the best place to get daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you just pick more or less on at least 2 projections. And if you're right, then you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Easy, easy, easy. Get in on the Jayhawks. Go check out the Mizzou Tigers. Get into the action. You'll love the promos like Taco Tuesday, where you can get discounted player projections for an even better value. Download the app today and use our code LOCKEDONNFL. You'll get $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup. That's Locked On NFL, all one word, for $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. This is where it gets difficult, and you can get all the detail and other points of view on both KC Chiefs Corner, where Chris is going to break it down from the number standpoint, the dollar standpoint. You can get on RGR Football and check out our takes on this. But I want to get down to the exit interview, so to speak. What are you taking out of this? And for me, if I'm Clark Hunt, I need to know that the staff is taking something away from this. Because I do, if I'm Clark Hunt, I still have utter faith in everybody. A lot of talk today about who got whose goat and all that. And let me just say straight up, they did a good job on the Eagles defense. They didn't do anything special. They didn't win that game other than they performed better at their task. There was no scheme change. There was no blitz attack. Vic Fangio didn't change anything up. It was the same defense you've beaten 8 times in a row. You just failed to do it correctly. And that's the takeaway for me. The more and more that I think about this, and I went and I looked at some of the film today, it's just the same thing. You refuse to run at what was light boxes. You refuse to run at a widened out pass rush because they weren't scared of you running the ball. They wanted to tee off on you and jack everybody into the backfield, collapse the pocket, and see what happened, and it worked all game long. The takeaway is that Andy Reid has to prepare in a different way that isn't just about the tendencies that you've seen, but about the counterpunch to what they could change. Todd Bowles got him the same way. Vic Fangio got him the same way. They can't ever let that happen again.
You know, it's funny because I've watched a couple of different conversations on X and had several people, comment to me that Patrick Mahomes doesn't belong in the same conversation as Tom Brady ever again.
He's the GOAT. No change.
Say what you want. Tom Brady was 3-2 in his first 5 Super Bowls. Mahomes is still young. Who knows how long he's going to play? We'll have that discussion when we have that discussion. He didn't do something that Tom Brady has never done. What do you want me to say to that? The discussion about how this needs to change the organization and the thing, and I actually had a friend of mine that was texting me about this and said, this game was horrible to watch. It was painful. And I was like, yeah, it was. But I've already moved on. And I started to move on last night before we even recorded the show, if I'm being quite honest. And I'm looking back at it from this angle, and this is the way I'm probably going to approach this entire offseason is, which hurts more, 55 or 59? To me, 55 probably hurt more than 59.
I agree.
You look at the game and you look at how they lost. Yeah, they lost and it wasn't good, but they literally what came from the loss in 55. You can literally look at what happened in Super Bowl 55 and see the fingerprints 4 years later in Super Bowl 59 and realize that 55 led them to being in 57, 58, and 59. So to me, this is a matter of the front office, which we'll talk about here in a couple minutes, is going to get this taken care of, and they know what their problems are. They know what they're going to have to do. I don't disagree with you about the coaching. I said this last night, Andy Reid is going to have to change things. He's going to have to get to a point where he makes adjustments. The one thing that really stands out to me that I couldn't understand is that Andy has usually been such a good players coach that he coaches to his players' strengths. And he absolutely didn't do that at all against the Eagles on offense. That is what sticks out to me. That is the one thing that really sticks out. And going back to the Kelce thing for just 1 second, because I just thought about this. If Kelce doesn't come back, then I think one of the things that you could look at is bringing a guy like DeAndre Hopkins back. Not the same position, but they can do a lot of similar things, and Mahomes trusts Hopkins. I don't know that you can have both of those guys back if you have Kelce here next year.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on the salaries, right? DeAndre Hopkins, for the first time in his career, dropped balls this season.
I'm talking more scheme than anything else.
No, I get you. But it does depend on the money. I don't know. I don't know that there's a way around that. But the scheme, you can make that a replacement. Although I still feel he's better on the outside than anybody is, or any other position, I guess I should say. There's nothing you do to replace Travis Kelce. You can't go a big slot. It's not the same thing. You can't go on X receiver. It's not the same thing. But he's a unicorn.
He is, but I guess the way I'm looking at it, and the reason I even bring it up is because, to me, you saw Patrick Mahomes have trust in Hopkins like I've never seen him have trust in a wide receiver, and I don't even know that I would say that he had the same kind of trust with Tyreek Hill, because there was throws that I saw him make to Hopkins so quickly that I don't remember him ever really trying to Hill. Now I understand different body types, different catch styles. I understand all that. But he implicitly trusted D-Hop to go do his job and gave him the chance to do it almost from the get-go.
Yeah, that's rare. And you got to pay down on that. You got to double down on that. I think the other thing that you have to take away is that for Steve Spagnolo, whose defense I felt, even on rewatch, held up remarkably well, you have to be able to account a little bit better for where your deficiencies are. There were a couple of looks, a couple of play calls that I think put Jalen Watson in particular in a bad position.
Yep.
And those, I think, were a reaction to what they were getting down in the box. They did their job. They stopped Saquon Barkley. But this was a departure for Steve Spagnolo. He sold out to do that and left himself vulnerable on the backside. He doesn't generally do that. He's generally going to let you run on him, because he's not that scared. He's more scared of the pass. And I think for that, I would just say Spagnolo's instincts are correct. I feel like he maybe doubted himself a little bit here, or doubted that the guys could continue to play the way that they had been. And I think the departure from playing the way you have been is what got him that defeat.
I would argue that if the Chiefs don't give the ball over multiple times in their own territory, Spagnolo's plan probably works in Kansas City, is at least in the game at late. I don't know that they would have won just because of how bad the offense played, but I mean, you take away the pick six, that's a 7-point swing. Take away the other pick, that's easily another 7-point swing. At that point, you're down to what, 26-22. I mean, you basically gave them 14 points, and that doesn't include what happened on the fumble. So yeah. I think I have a hard time blaming Steve Spagnolo, because his defense was doing exactly what they coached him to do, and stopping the run, which would have worked. And I also don't think that they're going to be able to hit the deep shot if it's to A.J. Brown, or even the one to Devontae Smith if it's a different type of game and it's closer, because I don't think the Eagles are taking those shots in those moments, because I think the reason they took them is because they figured KC thought that they were going to be running. So I think his scheme was great. I think that he had a great plan for what they wanted to do, and they were able to do it. So I don't really want to give him any of the blame for the loss, because I thought the defense actually really played pretty well, considering they gave him how many possessions after 3 and out, after 3 and out, after 3 and out, after 3 and out. You can't expect a defense to hold up to that. Period.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'm going to count them up just because I want to have that number in my head, because I don't have it currently. So you're right. It set them up, and that's the way the outcome rose. They have to deal with that now. They have to deal with what is going to be a different look on both sides of the ball. The front office has to get prepared for free agency first. A first look at that coming up next. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get into it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place your live bets throughout the game, start to finish. Even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can get there. You can stay in the action. And if you want to go looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into same-game parlay. You got to love that because it's a new aspect. You can just roll it into it. If you're backing your team for a late-game rally or picking up a player who just hit a 3 and you think he's getting really, really hot, you can do that in the app, and it makes it super easy. Right now, our new FanDuel customers are getting $150 in bonus bets if you first get a $5 bet that wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets right now. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL and the NBA. 8. 8 is the magic number. 8 drives in Super Bowl 59 that were less than 5 plays and did not result in a touchdown, because there was one play drive that did result in a touchdown, but 8 drives where the defense basically got 3 minutes, even with the gaps, to go get a breather and get back out on the field because it's their turn.
Yep.
It's just indefensible.
No, it is. And that's the hard thing. And that's, you took one of the best running backs of this generation, and I will say that about Saquon Barkley. I think he is a extremely special talent. He has shown that throughout the entire season, and I still get a kick out of watching him hurdle somebody backwards. Crazy talented running back, and you took that guy and kept him to less than 3 yards a carry. And if you would have told me that they're going to hold Saquon to under 3 yards a carry, Chiefs are winning this one going away and win probably by double digits in my mind. Yeah, because to me, I did not see a complete meltdown on offense happening.
You'll get no argument from me. So what do? How do they fix this? What's the reaction to this? Yes, you have to patch your own holes. You have to decide how you're going to move on from some elder statesman players, some guys that do carry some significant weight to them. There was $13 million for Hopkins that you obviously didn't pay because of the trade time. And Charles Omeni, who had 8. Justin Reed was 10.5. Hollywood at 7. DJ at 5. Like, there's some cap space that's coming off. As you said, there's only 38 players under contract for next year. But those are a lot of holes to fill. So where do you prioritize? What does the front office have to do first in terms of what is always first for front office? Decide who you want to retain.
Well, and that's the big key. You have Justin Reed, Trey Smith, Marquise Brown, Nick Bolton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Carson Wentz, Tershawn Wharton, Minihue, Hunt, Noddy, Justin Watson, McCall Hardman, Samaje Perine. I mean, the list goes on. And you have some restricted free agents as well. So I do think that there's a lot of different decisions and discussions that are going on right now. Are you going to be able to retain everybody you want? Probably not. Are you going to have the ability to retain guys that you do want? Maybe. And it depends on who we're talking about, because you start getting into talking about that draft class that set this entire Chiefs run up. When you talk about getting Creed Humphrey and Nick Bolton and Trey Smith all in one draft class.
Yep.
They're all going to be free agents other than Creed Humphrey because he signed a contract extension. So the question becomes, and this is what we've talked about since last year, how bad does Trey Smith want to stay here? Because that's what it's going to come down to. If he wants to stay here, he's going to have a chance. But he has to want to stay here.
Yeah. I think we're going to have another discussion here either later this week or early next about what that has to look like, particularly on Trey. But you're right. That decision has to be made. There's another one that I don't know how important it is to us, but to Andy Reid, it's important because the punter's going to be a free agent as well. And they've needed the punter more and more and more the last 3 seasons as this offense starts to slow down and starts to have a little bit more issue. Certainly with everything we talked about in the first segment today, if that were to happen, they're going to have to resign him as well. The league has seen what he can do at this point, and I think that's going to be problematic. Your backup, tight ends and Hendershot, same thing.
Yeah, Ariza is not really a free agent, though. He's an exclusive rights. So if they want him, they can have him, and they're going to get him for cheap. So it's a little bit different, and it's because of his contract situation and from what happened to him. So he will be an exclusive rights free agent for this year and I believe next year, and then he will be a restricted free agent the year after, and then would be a free agent. So Kansas City could have him for the next couple of seasons with only a couple $1 million total, I believe. But he is an exclusive rights free agent, and quite frankly, they'd be dumb not to re-sign him because at this point, you're talking less than $1.5 million. I think I'd have to get the numbers. I don't have those in front of me, but I think it'd be less than $1.5 million. And you're talking about a punter who can punt, somebody that I think got better throughout the season, and not only that, already knows how to hold and did a great job at holding. There were several times that he did a very good job that will go unnoticed by people because they're not paying attention to the small things like that. And I get it, but we have to look at it. But looking at everything, I think that he earned a chance to come back and go after another Super Bowl. So because that's the reality is Kansas City, they just lost the Super Bowl last night. We're recording this on Monday night. They're going for another Super Bowl. That's their goal. It will never change. That's what Andy Reid and that's what Patrick Mahomes is going to look at, and that's what they're going to go for. So what it comes down to is, you got to make decisions to other positions. And, before we started the show, I told you they have 4 guys on their salary cap for 2025 that make up $153 million on the salary cap. 4.
Leaving
2 of them are offensive linemen.
Yeah. Which leaves only less than $100 million in the expected cap space?
So, total liabilities, total team salary cap is, I think, around 275 is what they're expecting. So, I mean, about 130 million that you could have across the rest of the team.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to sustain that. So they're going to have to make some moves. Patrick Mahomes is the easiest one. He's got a $66 million cap hit. That's obviously not going to happen. Chris Jones is around $35 million. I do think they're going to make a move there because Jones didn't show any sign of wearing down. So I would expect that they're going to use a restructure of some sort and get some cap space there. So we'll see. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work out. Joe Thuney and Juwan Taylor, $26 million apiece, basically, and can't do anything about. I mean, you could do something with Taylor's contract because he's got one more year left, but he's got $20 million guaranteed, so you can't cut him. Not that I think they should anyway, because I don't think that that's improving the offensive line because you'd have to find somebody to replace him. Right. But Joe Thuney, he's on the last year of his deal, so unless you get an extension done, can't do anything with his 26 either. So unless you cut him, which I can't imagine they want to cut, especially considering it came out that they voted him their most valuable player.
It makes an impact. That's for certain. And I agree with you. They can't do it. But as much as you mentioned, the offensive line has holes. Stop me if this scares you a little bit. Derek Nottie, Malik Herring, Turk Wharton, Mike Pennell, all free agents. It's Charles Menahue. What am I thinking about? It's basically Chris, Mike, Dan, and GK. That's it.
Yes and no. And the reason I say yes and no is because what we've seen from the NFL and what we've seen from the league is they don't put value in guys like Derek Nottie. If you want Derek Nottie back, you can get Derek Nottie back. It's not going to be a great contract for him, but they can bring him back if they want him back. Are you going to be able to do that with Wharton with the year he had? No. I
don't think so.
He's going to get paid somewhere. It's not going to be outrageous, but he's going to get paid somewhere. And maybe it will be outrageous. Who knows? We'll see. I thought he played well, but I don't think he played. He's not Chris Jones, but nobody is. And where would you rank him in the top 20 defensive tackles? I don't know that he'd make that list either, but he's a lot closer to probably making that list than a lot of people would give him credit for. So I do think he's going to get paid. I just don't know how much he will get paid. And then you look at, Pennell. If they want him back, they can bring Pennell back for the same type of money that they're going to get Nottie. So I understand where you're coming from, and I get that. Charles Menahue is the one that you have to worry about. But I think that you're better off investing money in a guy like George Karlaftis and signing him long-term. And maybe that's how you do some of this, is you sign a guy like Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis to contract extensions and try to get some money that way. McDuffie and Karlaftis are both under the cap for less than $4.5 million. So you're not going to get a lot,
right? There's no,
but you could at least have those guys who you want to build around. Karlaftis, I think you want to build around. He's not a superstar, but he is very good. And he knows the defense. He knows, and they know him. McDuffie is a legitimate superstar.
Yep.
You want to sign him this offseason. If there's one deal you have to get done, it's Trent McDuffie.
You get no argument from me. That's where they're going to have to prioritize. We're going to go through every step of the way. We have shows coming on Trey Smith, on Trent McDuffie, on Nick Bolton, on Justin Reid. We're going to get to those here sooner rather than later. We're going to run it all down for you on those players that really are going to be the focus of the offseason. And obviously, anything that happens with Travis Kelce, we'll have you here. Thank you for all your time and dedication and listening to us for this last season. The next season begins now. We are on to the draft. We are on to free agency. It is all coming down. So make sure you like and you sub and you hit the next Locked On show for your next listen. We would very much appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being with us for this season. I hope that you will stay through the offseason, because we don't stop 5 days a week on every platform, everywhere, all the time. Thank you, Chiefs Kingdom. We'll talk to you tomorrow.